All right, we're live. Give it just a second to catch up and make sure I mute the stream itself.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. The exact same thing, because I'm such a derpal, I didn't even realize that until it was like a stream or two ago.
Oh, really? Then you needed to mute that?
Well, yeah. I mean, just I'm hearing it, and I'm like, just goddamn, how can I silence this shit? Anyway.
All right, we good. We locked in. All right, and so we get the chat visible. There's the chat. Okay. Everyone might be just recovering rather than watching a live stream, but that's okay. They can watch it later. So, all right, Fuego. So let's do this like we normally do. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
And I'm Jaime Fuego.
And we are here to do a little Thanksgiving live stream where we are going to be giving thanks for numerous things and catching up, namely getting Fuego's opinion on Ghostbusters Afterlife, because I know a lot of people were curious. We actually just recorded a review of the 7th episode of Chucky and a review of Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, so those reviews will be coming rapidly after this live stream starting tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. So we won't be covering those two things in this stream. We'll be covering a number of other things. But yeah, Fuego, how you doing? How's your Thanksgiving? What's been going on? You want to give anyone any insight, or you just want to say let's dive into the material?
Well, I mean, I can most definitely at least say that my beloved Uncle John Crawford has, despite being fully vaccinated, homie is on a full-on ventilator-induced coma back in Jersey. But my mom and that entire side of the family is from back east. There's some in Boston, like my Aunt Alice, and so we're really not sure. It was like touch and go for the first 8 days, and now we're wondering, because he's kind of stabilized and he regained consciousness at one particular point, but we just don't really know, because my mom is a part of his estate essentially, and would be planning a funeral with his longtime girlfriend, and so we don't really know if he's going to be able to fully recover or what the hell is going down, so it's based on pneumonia. So he did come down with some pneumonia, but we're not sure if it was from other complications from something else. He is a diabetic and he has some significant health problems, so yeah, it's a thing. But some of my best memories with family members growing up, man, and they weren't with my mom's sisters, they were with their badass Uncle John, who came out and would rent a convertible here coming from back east, and wearing like a fedora and just being a cool ass dude. So that's just one of many things in the weirdness of this November, but my heart goes out to him and the entire side of the Crawford Callahan clan, I guess is the best way that I can put it. And so yeah, love him, and it's been the last few days trying to catch up on some stuff like Resident Evil, and glad we got to film that review, and just trying to get my head screwed on straight with a little bit of sadness going down. But cheers to the gang for anybody who was coming in and taking a peek and having some of that proverbial palaver. So.
Indeed. So yeah, it's good to have you back. Obviously, Fuego's been dealing with family issues, so that's been the reason for him not being a part of the last Chucky review, and unfortunately not making it to the Ghostbusters screening.
Yeah.
But
that was the day I found out about all that shit too, so it was just massive, and I knew we had discussed it. I remembered us discussing it the day before when it was a last minute kind of press invite. So yeah, that's definitely on me, being a little overwhelmed, like an idiot, to quote Bobby Singer. But
it's cool. Yeah. It's cool. But you're here now, so let's catch up. Let's just go ahead and start off diving into that. By the way, real quick, let's say hi to Movie Mike, Jake Slider, and Ghost Pirate Entertainment, all in the chat. What's going on, guys? Good to see you. Oh, and Dice Rolling. Wow, what's going on, Dice?
Yeah, what up, Dice? Hell
good
yeah.
to see you. Long time no see.
Yeah, and I am so much missing her just policing the, instances on show business where we had troll after troll for so goddamn long, and just being an awesome to just kind of monitor in that regard.
Well,
So.
Dice is still doing her thing over on her channel
Yes.
with all of the things you didn't know, amongst other reviews and whatnot. So, yeah, guys, if you haven't checked out Dice Roland's channel, Dice Roland in the chat, make sure you go and check it out. So let's Fuego. I gotta be honest. I want to know your thoughts on Ghostbusters Afterlife. I'm sure a lot of people do. So let's not beat around the bush. Let's get right to it, to the people that are curious about your thoughts. So let's beat around the bush just a little bit more, and I'll give my thoughts real quick. And just to reiterate, I really enjoyed the movie. I was very much caught off guard by a lot of the nostalgia. I felt like the nostalgia did two things. It was a double-edged sword in this film. It lent itself to the most emotional beats in the movie, but it also made the movie feel like less unique than it should have felt, because it redid so many of the beats of the first movie. And guys, by the way, we're probably going to spoil things, so if you haven't seen Ghostbusters Afterlife yet, don't bother watching this. But at this point, it's been out for a couple of weeks. Most people have seen it, and I want to get Fuego's thoughts, including spoilers. So that's how I felt about it. I cried at the end because of the emotional impact of what they did, but having watched a number of reviews after the fact, I do recognize that there are some things about the movie that are not perfect, that I had a bit of blinders for because I was caught up in certain aspects of the story. So Fuego, please.
Yeah, and I, as your friend and somebody who knows about certain family things with you, I can really understand why that would have hit you, what we get at the end of that film in that particular regard. I didn't take exception to the digitizing of Harold Ramis like so many people did. It was really just the fact that for 2 acts we had something drastically different and something that felt very Jason Reitman. I dig Jason Reitman and a lot of his films, the young adult movie, and I think he did Thank You for Smoking, and just about everything that he has done. It's more of like an indie-centric sort of approach, but I dug pretty much everything he's written and directed. And so for this one, I felt like they gave him the opportunity to make his film up until a point. And that's where Papa Aykroyd was probably like, hey man, we need to kind of make sure that we have some proper FaceTime, because the Janine bit early on, I thought it felt fluid. It was good. I liked it. Not so much about the phone call where Dan just goes into, full-on
exposition.
Yeah, exactly. I did not, I didn't like that bit, but McKenna Grace, that's where even the detractors of the film have been saying that she is the strong point. I think we were introduced to her in The Haunting of Hill House, or at least most major audiences were, and she's terrific in this movie. Ironically enough, dude who has put on the Ghostbuster suit before is just forgettable and doesn't really have much of anything to do in Finn Wolfhard. And dare I say, and this is kind of mean on my part a little bit, as he's aging and getting a little bit bigger and beakier and stuff like that, he doesn't have the adorable quality that he used to. And I mean, it was more so script than anything, where they just did not give him as much to do. Yes, he's got his little love interest thing going on, but the callbacks I felt were a little less frequent initially, but as they got to that third act, they were so hardcore, and it is pretty much a complete replication in Oklahoma of the end that we got in New York City, which had so much more charm to it in a lot of ways, in my estimation. And so that's where the film fell flat, and I really wonder if, Dan Aykroyd getting older and a little bit out of touch, because, he is the spearhead of this franchise now. He is the one that has been so adamant about, we need a new film, we need to continue exploring the IP, and I don't know, did they show a different cut to test audiences, and we go back for pickups, and they reshape things, they add in more Easter eggs, and yeah, I laughed at the Paul Rudd stuff in Walmart, but I'm like, they're in friggin' Walmart, and it just, the whole
like a next to empty
everything.
Walmart too.
Yeah, well, I didn't see a single other person in those scenes, if I remember correctly. Now granted, if you go in there super late at night in a relatively nice city,
dude, any Walmart, even no matter what time of day, is still gonna have more people than they show. Yeah. What's up, Dale? What's up, Jay McKay? Good to see you guys. Dale, what's going on? Hope you're doing well. Good, sir.
Yeah.
Um, but Fuego, let's. So, what did you think about? Did you think it was just too much Stranger Things? Did you think that Paul Rudd and the mom were wasted or silly, or like? What did you think?
I will definitely go with the second bit in the fact that I felt like I really liked the Paul Rudd character, and he was more or less abandoned as we got later in the film, which was a little bit of a bummer.
Mm-hmm.
And it did make me think about the fact that, remember, they were supposed to do a whole, like, Dude Busters reboot that was supposed to be this kind of... So they did the Girl Busters in 2016, right? And then this is the Kid Busters, but they were supposed to do, like, a new Dude Busters, and it was going to be, like, Paul Rudd and Seth Rogen and a lot of those, you know, comedic presences that have become so much more prevalent in the last, like, 10 years or so. And I felt like they were just like, no, we need to make sure that we're...
I mean, if you're going to do it, let's cast it out real quick. Let's have some fun.
I'm trying to think
Paul Rudd, Seth Rogen. I think definitely Jason Sudeikis is a Ghostbuster.
And then what? Maybe, I mean, we have to have our Winston stand in. And so would they go Kevin Hart, or would they go, you know,
yeah.
or I mean, would they go a pre-accident? I guess, you know, he's getting a lot better now. Oh goodness, SNL dude who got in the accident and they thought...
Tracy Morgan. No, God,
Tracy
no,
Morgan.
not Tracy Morgan.
So?
No.
Okay,
no,
so
I think Kevin Hart's definitely more
in the
realistic. I honestly would argue for Ben Schwartz to be a new Ghostbuster, the guy that played Sonic, that's been in a lot of things that you don't realize. He's a really funny guy, and I think he would be a really good addition to the franchise.
He's like more of a nerdier, wormier kind of guy, if I remember
Little bit. Brooke Flynn says Vin Diesel. It's all about family, ghosts.
Yeah, that's funny.
All right, so yeah, Brooke also says Paul Rudd seems to play the same character in every movie. I like him, but it's odd.
He does. Yeah,
I agree. Does. He's very much like Will Ferrell in that sense.
Sexiest man alive.
But I gotta be honest, he's... So there's people like Will Ferrell who play the same character that just gets old, and then there's people like Paul Rudd who are more like The Rock in that they have the kind of charisma that you just like watching. It doesn't matter if it's... Same with Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds is pretty much the same character in every movie too, but his charisma makes it... I'm excited to watch that. It looks funny, the bits I've seen. But anyway, Idris Elba, Dice says, also another super charismatic. That would be a great Ghostbuster, Idris Elba. Idris Elba, I feel like, should be Winston's nephew.
Yeah,
like Winston's nephew that takes over the franchise and is a Ghostbuster. That'd be great.
You see, I actually love that casting because initially I was thinking you had to go with more of a comedic-centric sort of person, but it's like Ernie wasn't as responsible for as much of the comedy in that. You know, he had that great scene with Ray where they were talking about, you know, quoting scripture and all that different stuff in the end times.
It's a little stereotypical, but it also makes sense to have the black guy be the straight man of the ghost-busting crew, right? Because there's that stereotype where black people are really freaked out by ghosts if they're real and shit. Like, but you know,
and also you
gotta be careful about playing into that.
Yeah, which is where, I mean, if I was going to actually see how they would cast it right now, they would most definitely add more of a diversity, and properly so. It wouldn't just be 3 white comedians, you know.
I wouldn't imagine
in that role.
You'll probably get, let's see, so again, let's cast it out. I bet you'd get, you know who would be good? Let's do, oh God, I'm spacing on his name.
Since I just watched him
He's
on
invincible.
Bebop,
He's invincible.
Since I just watched him on Bebop, no John Cho.
No John Cho. No,
you think Steven Yeun?
Steven Yeun. Yeah, give me Steven Yeun because he's a little, you know, he's younger. I feel like. Well, honestly, I think either one would be a good Ghostbuster.
I just don't know about the comedic capacity, and that's why I thought of Cho.
Steve's funny. Steven Yeun's a funny guy. He delivered on the lines in Invincible that he needed to deliver on.
I mean, I was thinking more so because of his work with
Mayhem too. He was good in Mayhem. He was funny.
Dude, Mayhem was underrated in my estimation.
Yeah.
That's a fun one. Yeah.
Boris Balkin says Chris Rock. I don't know. Chris Rock could easily be a relative of Winston, but he'd be more like a cousin.
I still think like
Ben Grimm, Jonathan Majors. I'm not sure who that is. I
I
know the
still think
name.
I still think the Kevin
Let me
Hart,
see.
throwing that out there, maybe I was premature because if you did go for more of a serious sort of take, but then, I mean, 10, 15, 20 years ago, probably you would have gone like a Chris Tucker, a Chris Rock,
Oh, Jonathan
a
Majors.
Dave
Okay.
Chappelle.
The new Candyman from Lovecraft County country.
Mm.
That would be a good Ghostbuster. I agree with that. That's a good call, Ben. Good call. Chris Rock says, Jay McKay says, I know I should turn away because spoilers, but I'm watching. Oh, shoot. All right. Well, sorry, Jay. Yeah, I do want to get Fuego's opinion on the spoilers. So, Jay, give
Yeah,
us
yeah.
5 minutes
Hmm.
right now. Come back at 10:25. That's seven. Well, 10:25 our time. So come back in 7 minutes because I gotta get Fuego's opinion on the end because that's the stuff that made this movie like a lot of people are saying this movie is okay, but the end saved it, and I was kind of one of those. The movie was okay, but the end hit me hard, and I really really loved the end. So spoilers. Fuego, what did you think of the end of the movie?
Okay, so if we're talking about just them showing up at the end,
Not just that, not
I felt like
them
that was,
in particular,
I
but
felt that was very forced and didn't really. And the fact that we did, Gozer and dogs again and all that, and I don't know. I don't have an issue with the digitization of Harold Ramis. But I think maybe more so from personal experience, didn't it just didn't hit me in the feels the way that, but it didn't like turn me off and
uh,
piss me off like I've seen some people do, like those red letter media guys. Boy, do they have an axe to grind. They are scathing, angry old
hmm
nerds. And
dude, I loved it. I that made me cry. That whole Harold Ramis bit made me cry. I thought he looked
yeah,
amazing,
he looked
considering
great.
he never
No,
he
he
never
looked
got even Harold Ramis never got to look that way because he gained weight in the back half of his life, like big time weight. Like he
yeah,
didn't look like Egon anymore. So the fact that they made him look like a grown up Egon, like a lot of people might take offense to that if you really think too deeply on it, like we can't present the big version of Egon. We got to present the grown up version of the Egon everyone knows. And I'm like, ultimately, as a big person, I'm glad they made that call because it felt more in universe. It felt more
mhm,
connected to the Egon that we know because we never saw Egon as the big version of himself. You know
mhm.
what I mean? But I when I saw the beam and her holding it, and then you see these ghost arms holding it. I saw someone comment on our thing on our video or on my review saying they should have just shown just the arms. They didn't need to reveal the rest, and you could have like
I don't
guessed
agree
what
with
it
that.
was. I
No,
think
I don't
showing
agree
him
with that.
entirely made a big difference. I'm not sure why they decided to keep him silent when, Slimer and Muncher, like so many ghosts can talk. Like, is there any reason why Egon shouldn't have been able to, outside the fact that you can't replicate his voice
I
without
think
getting a
that
voice double?
Yeah, I think that was the biggest reason why they didn't do it is because he was supposed to be
Yeah,
this stoic
yeah,
spiritual presence and
that's true.
no
But
no
why? But
dialogue.
Fuego, why didn't the farm trap capture him when it captured everything else, and he was there helping?
Yeah, we can nitpick so much about this movie, which is one of the reasons why I have, I'm gonna really lean on something that movie Mike said right there. It's like I need to watch it a second time before I form a film or a firm opinion. And as I've watched reviews after seeing it, and including yours, obviously, and just really ruminated on it, I've actually leaned more so towards appreciation of the first two thirds as opposed to just the hate factory that certain people are perpetuating right now. I do like where the franchise could potentially go with Winston going back in, and although didn't they say earlier in the movie that it was like a Starbucks or some shit? I can't
They
remember.
did, yeah, but yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
but
you're right.
it could have been like a tongue-in-cheek kind of joke or something. It's
Yeah,
like, oh, I'm assuming that's what it must be at this particular point.
right.
And I did like the little bit in the post credits with Sigourney and calling back. Like that was maybe my favorite callback out of all of them, more so
hmm
than anything, because I think that scene in the first movie is hilarious, where Venkman is being such a douchebag, and I just rewatched the original film like a night or two
Oh
ago, and
yeah.
Yeah,
when
yeah,
he's like, I only did it to the guys, and she shocks him. She's like, you
yeah,
dick.
yeah, where the girl is getting it wrong and he's
Hmm.
still shocking the crazy-haired Kramer-looking kid. You know, it's
Even
I
when
don't
he
know.
got it right, like, yeah,
Even when he got it right, the squiggly lines, and
hmm,
he's still just like,
a couple of
ooh,
wavy lines.
ooh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a brilliance to that first film, and I do, and something that I would have definitely said if we got the chance to review it together properly is that I don't know
Boris,
why.
that's a good try,
I
Boris.
Dude, I don't know why everybody hates on Ghostbusters 2. I love Ghostbusters 2. I am all about Ghostbusters
I
2.
enjoyed it. I'm definitely not the hate factory on 2 like a lot
Yeah.
of people are.
Oh man, the River of Slime
The
and
River
Lord
of Slime is great.
Vigo.
The Dancing Toaster is great. Vigo
Yeah,
and Janosch,
yeah,
I think
yeah,
they're great. The Janosch as a ghost stealing the baby off of the tower
yeah,
is fucking scary. Like there's some scary imagery in 2.
yeah.
The train
The
going
tri-
through Winston.
Oh, dude, and even the trial sequence where the two convicted murderer brothers like
Yeah.
escape in the courtroom. I love that shit. You know,
There's a lot of fun in 2. 2
there is.
gets unnecessary hate.
Yeah, and also where the Titanic shows up and everybody who died on the
The
Titanic.
Titanic just arrived.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of great bits in that film. I think it's because yes, there is a relative amount of rehash as you saw in a lot of '80s sequels, unfortunately. But and also the who you gonna call He-Man? I mean, come on, man. I just there's a lot of really fun stuff in that second film. So
Yeah, well, and also, why are the demon dogs eating dog food? They're not actually dogs.
in the
Like,
new movie,
yeah, why is it eating dog food? That
yeah.
doesn't make sense. It wouldn't go after dog food. But see, yeah, and the dumbness of Paul Rudd, the fact that his idiocy, even despite knowing what the trap is, he still like decides like let's free whatever's inside there, and starting the whole chain of events that happens when they free the ghostly dog is pretty cool, by the way. When you saw
It looked good
at the beginning when Egon was trying to capture the ghostly dog, and then you see the smoke billow into his room and form into like
in
the
the
ghostly
original
dog
film.
statue.
Yeah.
No, in this one, at the beginning of this one, when Egon, because remember it starts with the truck getting knocked off into the corn, and then Egon runs and he sits in the seat, and then the dog arms come around him like in Sigourney Weaver. That was another big thing, is they redid too much of it when the mom was like, there is no mom, only Zool. I was like, come on.
It was very Memba Berries for sure, and I saw somebody who used to work for Collider, and I know people have mixed feelings about Collider or whatever, but she basically said this film is the equivalent of The Rise of Skywalker, and if you love The Rise of Skywalker, you will probably love Ghostbusters Afterlife.
See, I heard a lot of Force Awakens. This is basically Force Awakens, because they redo the end of Star Wars in Force Awakens. They redo the end of Ghostbusters 1 in this one.
I think the point that she was trying to make was that it does have a lot of that same DNA of both of the JJ films, and everybody got so mad about The Last Jedi, and I don't really like them that much of The Last Jedi. Force Awakens was just enough Member Berries for me, but I think my opinion has changed over the years about that one, and I haven't revisited it in quite a long time, so maybe I'll think a little bit differently at this point. Who's to say? Right.
Javier Lerma is in the chat. What's going on, Javier? Boris said he loves the whole movie. He also said something earlier I agree with, because he designed the farm trap and designed it not to catch him, is how he's excusing why Egon didn't get caught. It's a stretch, but I'll give it to you. At least it seems like maybe more thought than a lot of other people would have put into it. No doubt there was a lot of fan service, but I believe they did it well, says Movie Mike. Okay. So Fuego, do you feel like this is a good launch pad for the series? Like, do you think so here's what I think would work from here. You continue with these kids, but you bring them to New York, right? You move the mom and everyone to New York. The mom becomes the new Janine, and does the call receiving and gets involved when she needs to in the third act. Like she can kind of play the Janine and Rick Moranis role all at once,
No,
or
I
she
was
can be
sad
like
they
the backup Ghostbuster as well.
I was sad they couldn't convince Moranis to make a cameo in this because I
Well,
heard it was on the table and they tried, but
yeah.
he's so endearing in those two films for me.
Oh yeah, he absolutely is. But I mean, they didn't even bother bringing back Slimer, let alone Rick Moranis.
Well, we had our new Slimer.
We had Muncher.
Yeah, great original stuff then.
Yeah,
Anyway.
super. I don't know. Any other thoughts on it you want to give, Fuego?
Well, I would imagine that since it's over exceeded their expectations at the box office, that we definitely will be seeing a sequel. Who knows if they'll bring Jason Reitman back or whatever, but I, from what I understand, Dan Aykroyd has been just like chomping at the bit to, I hate to use a term like re-exploit this IP, but he has always been the most adamant about trying to make Ghostbusters a thing with new video games and, just representation in other aspects of media. I don't know if you watched it though, but they had Ernie Hudson, Dan Aykroyd, and Bill Murray on the Tonight Show, and some of the jokes that Bill Murray made, you could tell that I'm not so sure how hot he is on this particular reemergence. But
yeah, I saw the part where he's like,
he's been such a cynical shit.
Everyone's
so
saying
long,
it's making them cry, so it should be a great comedy film.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, and that was him because it really tugs on the heartstrings, and albeit maybe deliberately, especially with that finale that you were mentioning, but I think my opinion is kind of changing a little bit, and I'm going to follow once again and double down on what Movie Mike said, and the fact that I do need to give it another shot. I do need to give it another look, because I felt like I liked the majority of it until the third act, and that's where it was just veering into too much, just, I don't know, things I'd seen before. It felt like it was losing its freshness, so to speak. So, yeah.
All right, Fuego. So I think it's time to dive into the thankfuls. Since we're done with Ghostbusters now, let's. The first thing I want to just say is just to put out in the universe. I am very thankful on this Thanksgiving holiday here in America. I know we have some out of America viewers.
Yeah, we have a lot of them. Yeah, we appreciate the hell out of
them. But yes, I am very thankful for my family. My son is about to turn 1 on December 4th. He has grown. He's already walking. He's said about 4 different words at this point. He says mama, he says look, he says cat, and he says dada. So he is walking like a son of a bitch. So I am grateful for that, and grateful for my job, which has allowed me to continue to provide for my family. So that is the most real one that doesn't allow for a lot of expansion. I'm just very grateful for those things. What about you, Fuego?
Man, if we're not, because I made this tailored list of horror related stuff, but
yeah, I just had to do one real one.
No, you had to. That I guess I would very much go for having a supportive family for everything that I do, as far as things with you and the strange other aspects of work that I find myself in currently, which is had its fair share of ups and downs post-pandemic, and most notably both of my brothers. Man, I mean, I talked extensively with each of them today, and I've got so much love for Johnny C and for David, and that amongst trying to coordinate a Partners on the Path of the Beam with Mike Kearns and Lou Sitzma, Johnny is actually going to be the other, at least for sure, booked guest for that program, because I somehow implored him to read the entire Dark Tower series, and since he does a lot of driving for his work, being a sports coach who drives a number of hours a lot of the time for games and stuff like that, that he is the other, for sure, that person for the upcoming future that's going to talk Cy King with me. So talking about El Rey with my little brother is going to be very exciting, and I'm really stoked.
That's cool. Right on. That's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
So what else, Fuego? Why don't you start off with one of your horror ones then?
I am very thankful for Mike Flanagan, man. Very thankful for Mike Flanagan, most notably for what he did with Midnight Mass, because as I was looking back through my letterbox after you suggested this stream tonight, and yes, they do allow you to store the TV that you've watched this past year as well if you're making those lists. And I was looking at all of the other horror, and there's some contenders as far as horror that I really am appreciative of, and we'll get to those, at the end of the year when we do our best ofs and whatnot. But there is just something about the very, very emotional and religious-minded way that he approaches storytelling, man. Then I know we talked about Midnight Mass last month when we did our like kind of monthly discussion and everything, but there's nothing as far as horror goes this year that has struck as much of a chord with me, and his track record is pretty much flawless. Not that he hasn't had films that were better than others. I like the Ouija prequel, but it's nowhere near as good as Gerald's Game or Doctor Sleep or whatever, and Haunting of Hill House, which you already brought up tonight. But just the fact that he is a very prominent person in this industry who is being given the keys to the castle with Netflix and all the goddamn money that they have to throw at stuff. His attempt at Kristopher Pike adaptation, I'm incredibly curious about. So we'll see what happens. But yes, I'm thankful for Midnight Mass and just how much it made me recall a lot of stuff pertaining to my childhood and religion and the associative emotion and the things that I personally chose to step away from as well. It was very cathartic in that regard.
So then I'm going to jump on that and say I'm thankful for Chucky and Don Mancini, because not only is it something that's proving to be entertaining on a week in, week out basis, it's more of the classic Chucky that I love so much that is done by Brad Dourif. But what I really love about it is that it's successful enough that it means it's paving the way for more horror properties that we love to make it on a longer form storytelling format that is TV now. And I'm excited for what the future may hold for what properties that we're not even thinking of that are going to get the expansion that they so deserve via film. I mean, we already got Scream as a TV series. Now this year we got I Know What You Did Last Summer as a TV series. I mean, there's a lot of examples of it, but I think Chucky is the first one that is going to be as successful, I think it's already probably the most successful version of these sorts of shows compared to those other ones. But I don't know. I'm just thankful that it's actually of the quality that it is, so that it continues and we get other series like it.
Yeah, and we can attest to the fact that Sci-Fi, and I guess it's a co-production with Sci-Fi and USA, obviously, based on how it's airing on both sectors. But yeah, man, it's exceeded my expectations, because I wasn't so sure about a Chucky series, I'll be honest, especially because it's not a franchise that I hold in the same esteem that you do. Not that I like hated Chucky or whatever, but it's not like the other series that I will mention that I am incredibly thankful that is presumably happening, although it's so far away at this point, who knows when we'll see it. But the Alien series, I'm thankful for a further exploration despite being under the Disney umbrella. And the only thing that maintains my hope and expectation that this is going to be good is the fact that I see what Hulu, which is now owned by Disney, does, and their stuff is very R-rated and very much pushes the envelope. And so
Hitmonkey's awesome.
Yeah. I still haven't watched it yet. That's the new animated
Marvel,
right?
Yeah. And I have the comics. I have the origin of the character, and it's Jason Sudeikis is a character in it, and they've made some changes, but it's really engaging and it's super gory, like really fun. So
yeah, I didn't watch any of MODOK, and I know that was the
MODOK is tough.
It's the other one that they did.
I watched it all, but it's nowhere near as enjoyable as Hitmonkey is, in my opinion.
But no, just to echo your sentiments, man, I'm thankful for the fact that these franchises that before it was almost it would have been sacrilege to pivot them over to a television, streaming, whatever sort of situation. I think it's really rad that we can explore stuff like this and these IPs that we adore in a longer sort of narrative. And then of course I'm very excited for this new Predator movie that we're finally getting some more details about, because that is still probably between those two characters, my favorite horror franchise, honestly, is the Alien Predator universe and all that they encompass with Prometheus and all that other stuff.
Well, and we really need to review that first arc of the Marvel Alien comics.
Yeah, we do.
I think people would really be into that. I'm surprised you didn't mention being thankful for Dune being received as well as it was, so that we sure. Okay,
it was on my list.
Okay, sorry. My bad. I jumped the gun. Well, because it's something I'm grateful for, because it's something it came out of nowhere for me. So maybe I'll mention it and you can dovetail it for me. I really loved Dune, and I am not anyone that is, a lover of the originals. Like, I watched them, but I'm not partial to them specifically. I more enjoyed the sci-fi series than the original David Lynch movie, but this is easily the best representation of the story that I've encountered, and I'm engaged, and I was very happy to hear that they got the approval as quickly as they did to actually finish it out with the next movie. So I was very glad to see Dune appear, because it is really as magnificent as I was hoping it would be, being someone that doesn't know the property.
Yeah, and that's where I'm not a deep diver of the property. Like, I haven't read the stuff that Kevin J. Anderson and Brian did. I haven't gone into the prequel and sequel territory of, like, House Atreides and all of those different things. But I had the utmost faith in Denis to do that property justice, and the fact that it was such a passion project of his, and with the cast he assembled, everything was presumably going to be rad status. And despite the fact that, yes, you very much get a finale that leaves you kind of hanging on, a little bit, but we're blessed with the fact that they already greenlit, especially with the combination of domestic and international that we're gonna get. He's saying that he wants to bring in some from the next book, and I'm not okay. I don't want to spoil anything for those who haven't read any of the books and don't know what ends up happening with Paul, because there is an arc for sure, and an intriguing one at that, and one that's rather cathartic. The John Harrison stuff that was done for sci-fi, I actually do prefer to the David Lynch original film, most notably the one that they did, which was the sequel, Children of Dune, which combined some aspects from the second book, but it was primarily Children of Dune, the third book. And you had a young James McAvoy in that, and so that was pretty damn good, in my estimation, but it was still very much on a TV budget. And so it was the next thing that I was going to mention, is the fact that Denis did justice, dude. He really did, and I appreciate as the kind of pseudo headline that Denis and his dedication to Dune, the fact that he cared so much about really representing this property in a compelling fashion, and being willing to, he didn't so much whittle down certain aspects of story, but he did streamline certain things to try to make it more accessible, and I think he succeeded. I really do.
Jake Sider says, I'm thankful for you guys. Well, we are very much thankful for any and all of you guys for your watching and commenting and support through all this time. You guys are amazing for sticking with us. We greatly appreciate one and all of you. So the next thing I would say I'm grateful for would be, I would say I'm grateful for the fact that people are receiving Elevator Pitch well, because it's a series that takes some effort on my part as far as trying to be creative and come up with ideas that, like, I labor over the ideas that I have to come up with ahead of time, because, man, do I want to make sure they're good for you guys. Oh, excuse me. Oh, sorry guys, it's a little late. Long day. I labor over making sure that there are good ideas that I'm presenting, because I don't want to be a guy that's like, oh, these ideas are boring, and I have a new opponent every single month. So it's like, I gotta keep churning out ideas, but I enjoy doing it, right? Like, idea creation is one of my favorite things. So I love the fact that people seem to be responding well to an idea, or to a series all about idea creation. I'm enjoying that.
Now, so for the extent of the show, because please refresh. I haven't watched the newest one that you and Vince did, but so do you go in with your ideas right off the bat, or is it just like you guys riff on a subject that you've kind of come off the cuff with?
No, there's always three categories. There's one category that is themed. So in this one, it was Thanksgiving themed because November.
Yeah, that's right. And now I remember what I saw in the group thread where a suggestion that I was thinking of is that there could have been like, I don't know, vengeful indigenous people that were, killed and brought back in some sort of manner. They were like, oh,
Vince went the indigenous route with an older story about tribes and stuff like that. So yeah, there's that's the fun thing. So there was that category, and then audience choice, which I can't remember what they ended up choosing, and then the last category was a monster movie. So yeah, that's what we ended up doing, and I just like the idea that talking all about movie ideas is enough to interest people to keep watching. So that's exciting for me.
Yeah, as Movie Mike was saying, Elevator is great, very inspiring as a viewer.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that.
It gets the gears turning in your head, I would imagine, even as a viewer. You're like, maybe, I could, grab on Final Draft and try to throw something together, and who the hell knows? There's always that possibility. So.
That's the fun of it. Like, we want to inspire people to feel like they can come up with a genuinely good movie idea in a short amount of time. And all they do is, if the more time they spend on it, the more time they finesse the story, the more it's going to get good and worth writing as a full script and trying to get noticed. So
because it's often just that initial inception, right? As somebody who's written, I mean, I have lots of story ideas and things here and there, but you've penned a lot of scripts yourself, so
yeah, it's nice to have something to really aim for. What's weird is most of my ideas are like ideas that come to me, and then I write them down as they come to me. So it's not something I tend to quote unquote force. But with this show, I have to, like, if I haven't thought of an idea in the last month, in the days leading up to it, I have to sit and physically like force myself to think of an idea that's like unique, and like it's hard. It takes time. Like each of these ideas, like it usually takes me like 4 to 5 hours to get the idea thought of and massaged to a point where I feel confident enough to pitch it. So it's interesting. It's an interesting exercise every single time, but it's fun because it's exercising the creative part of my brain.
Yeah, because it's like where a band, for instance, with my musical background and everything, it's
fantasy
like,
horror film was the audience choice. Thank you, Movie Mike. Yes.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, but if it's like, okay, you sign a contract and you have to make like 7 albums, like fucking Victory Records was doing to these indie rock and metal bands for a while in the mid 2000s, and you're like, wow, okay, we have to. When you have to force creativity, that's where. I know that people sign these major picture deals too, and it's like, well, you have to put something together. Your back is to the wall, so to speak, and it works better for some, I would imagine, where you are like there's a pressing deadline. But yeah, I don't know. It's got to be an interesting process, man.
It definitely is, but yeah, I'm just grateful that people are enjoying it. So, what's the next one you're thankful for, Fuego?
The next one that I was thinking of is where I have to, since we were talking about Resident Evil tonight, and since we were talking about Ghostbusters, and since we're talking about all of these different just proven IPs and franchises that everybody knows about, I definitely want to give a shout out to the independent horror creators that are not doing sequels, re-bequels, as you coined the phrase, and all this different shit. Those who are not only doing something unique and different and very much their own, but often in the case of something like Seder, they're doing just about everything themselves. They're shooting it, they're scoring it, they're doing just about all of the cinematography themselves, and then also other smaller bits like Psycho Goreman, In the Earth, The Vigil, Werewolves Within, being from the comedic standpoint of things.
That's a funny one.
I mean, yeah. So I just champion those who are not trying to work within the constraints of stuff that I watched this past year that really feels anything like something that I had seen before. I mean, maybe there's like slight tinges or hints of that DNA, but original ideas, and especially those who are probably working their asses off even to get the money to make something beforehand, let alone the process of trying to get it made. So major props within that, and I'm continually inspired, and just I think it's really cool because of the fact that we cover horror specifically, and for the most part, and yet I feel like there is so much more generic shit that is done in the action genre. I rent a lot of them from Redbox.
Mm-hmm.
There is so much more that we see in theaters and the sci-fi superhero genre or whatever the hell it may be. But horror, I still feel I see the most original small level shit within our genre that we named the show after,
mm-hmm.
obviously. And so that's what I'm thankful for, the fact that I can get a tense drama, or I can get a goofy bit of insanity like Psycho Gorman, or then there's so many different, that you can pivot so much, and you can really make something incredibly interesting and very unique. And so, props up to all the creators for that.
Agreed. Yeah, no, agreed. Yeah. The independent creators definitely deserve a good thanks and shout out. To that end, I want to thank those involved with pushing the fan film movement forward, because
another thing that I had. So yes,
yeah, because it's obviously a big thing for me with DNN in the works, but Vince doing his thing with the Never Hike Alone series, and Dave McCrae doing his thing with It's Me Billy and stuff beyond that. Miko Hughes being willing to lend himself to Dylan's New Nightmare. All of this stuff. Nora Hewitt, who actually posted on her Instagram that she was thanked by Ghostbusters Afterlife because she helped create some of the effects for Ghostbusters Afterlife. So now Nora Hewitt is doing, she's been on board to do our effects the whole time. I know the work that she's already done for the project, and it's exciting. So we've got top tier talent related to Ghostbusters Afterlife working on Dylan's New Nightmare. We're just waiting for that border thing to open up, and which was supposed to happen around November 20th. There was an update on November 19th that said that people coming from Canada, if they have less than a 72-hour turnaround, then they don't have to quarantine themselves and get tests and stuff. But there's no way that we're going to need him for less than 3 days. So we can't do that. So we might have to wait a little bit longer. But nonetheless, I'm grateful to the fan film community, those pushing the bar, and then thankful to all of the people that supported Dylan's New Nightmare that are still being patient, waiting for us to actually make it after all this time, because again, COVID shutting down the border has just been a nightmare for us. But we're working it out. We still want to shoot the movie in late Q1 or Q2 of next year and get it done. So I'm greatly appreciative to any of those people that help with the projects and are patient with us.
Yeah, I've been impressed with just the upping of the game, I think, with some of these fan films. Now, granted, there's others that are just okay, but I mean, Vince's Never Hike stuff has been awesome, and I really enjoyed Jimmy Champagne, if that's the dude that I'm thinking of. Yeah, who did the the Goosebumps bit. I thought that was pretty rad status, and so yeah, there's a lot.
Jimmy Champagne and
there's something else specifically. It's just his name based.
Yeah, he does Oddest of the Odd. They did the Happy Halloween short that caught all the attention. Yeah,
which was the Halloween one as well, and I thought that was solid. So just the fact that it is just becoming more prevalent, and also just retaining the idea of these IPs in people's heads, and making sure specifically that, I mean, it's like the biggest thing is probably with Jason, in the fact that all the legal rights and everything, he is the one that needs to be reminded of as far as everything goes, at least currently. But yeah, it seems like everybody is almost it's a healthy competition, in the fact that it's making everybody have to up their game in that regard, which is really, really impressive.
So. Yeah. So, all right, Fuego. What's the? Do you have another thing?
I have a few other things,
Go
but
ahead.
I know it's been
Go ahead and fire
you,
some
you
off. We'll probably wrap it
like
up
me
around
that
11.
yeah, yeah, which is only a few minutes away.
Mm-hmm.
I I was rewatching the trailer for Eli Roth's Thanksgiving, the fake trailer earlier
Thanksgiving.
today. Yes, I will most definitely recommend that anybody who has never seen that. It's from the Grindhouse double feature that Eli Roth did along. Well, actually, no, it wasn't.
No,
So Roth directed that segment, but it was Quentin Tarantino and
Robert Rodriguez.
my beloved homie Robert Rodriguez.
Mm-hmm.
So they directed each of the feature moments, but even Rob Zombie did the werewolf women of the
Mm-hmm.
SS or whatever the hell it was. So I watched that Thanksgiving segment every single year, and I showed it to the significant other tonight. The trampoline bit with the knife,
God, yeah.
and like we're talking screaming and squirming, which was hilarious. If I'm going to get a little sentimental for a moment, I will most definitely say that the fact that we welcomed back into my band Chiron earlier this year, my buddy Chris Payne, who had both a a mother-in-law and soon-to-be wife with cancer, and so he had to step away from the band and was gone for a hot minute, but he is back in the fold and honestly, intriguingly, sharing duties with that singer girl Roberta, who came on with him, and so we have kind of. I'm not going to compare us to Lacuna Coil because we're not that kind of band as far as music goes, but as far as a dueling sort of presence, it's been very cool, and we got to play our first show with the offshoot, which is entitled Nancy and the Nightmares, where we're doing like horror centric and covers like Time Warp and the Ghostbusters theme. We were talking about Ghostbusters, so that was fun to get into that. I'm very happy about my Phoenix Suns. They've won 14 in a row. It's pretty dope, although they're kind of playing against a lot of bad teams right now, so who knows if it's fool's gold or not. But Hail to Stephen King, which Cecil gave me the opportunity to present on this channel. We're at episode 295.
Wow.
I think was the most recent one, and so we're almost at 300 episodes, and it's going to be right at the beginning of the new year where we hit that benchmark, and I'm still incredibly humbled and honored, and I think it's an awesome thing that me talking about my favorite author has become a thing and continues to be a thing. Now, granted, I know that there's some topics as you scrape the barrel and you're getting so far into what you can still talk about that is fresh and new. I read this great lost comic that was originally supposed to be a part of the second Creepshow film, and I tracked that down recently, so that was this past week's video. But I mean, shit, I filmed that along with Children of the Corn like 2 weeks ago, but that nonetheless, I am very I don't know, it's an amazing honor of awesomeness to be able to continue to do this show, dude. No, it is, it really is, and I know it does veer into being like kind of a Fuego thing a lot of the time, but that's why I love the aspects where we've been able to cover it and all these different things where it's not just been me sitting and yapping at a camera. And so any King coverage has been a blessing and super fucking cool, and thank you. Obviously, I'm thankful for
you beat me to it. I was going to thank you for all your contributions for the channel.
Well, I mean, it's just me being legit honest, because I know I'm not always the easiest to deal with,
That's all right. Everyone goes through stuff, but Movie Mike says we're all thankful for Hail to Stephen King. I agree. So, guys, I think that we're grateful to everyone for making this channel what it is today. I mean, all of our co-hosts, Susie, Marcia, Andrew, Robert, producer Dave when he can make it around, Luis when he can make it around, anyone and everyone involved. We greatly appreciate all of their involvement, and we greatly appreciate all of you guys that continue to watch and give us a reason to come back and discuss horror on a regular basis. So thank all of you guys for watching. Stay tuned for our reviews of the 7th episode of Chucky and the new Resident Evil movie. Those reviews should drop tomorrow and Saturday, if not both tomorrow. So thank you guys very much for watching. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
And gracias, Jaime.